I've had some amazing experience jousting. It's taken me all over the world. I've jousted Australia, Denmark, France, Italy. Mostly good experiences, mostly amazing experiences. I jousted at the Tower of London last year. London's my hometown, so to be able to joust in London was absolutely amazing, especially at the Tower of London. My worst experience would be 2 years ago at the Easter tournament at Leeds Armories, and I managed to fall off and break my back. So that would be my worst experience jousting. I managed to, with a very new pair of gauntlets, gloves on, I was just warming up the horse and managed to lose the reins, so the horse then jet propelled down the tilt, bucking rapidly, and then did a nice sharp hard right and spat me into a post and rail fence and broke the 4x4 post with my back. As I'm a very active person, it was a ridiculously hard recovery. Being told that you couldn't actually do anything for 8 weeks was not a very fun experience for me. I have had to miss out on a lot of social events due to jousting, because you have to be able to commit to training, you have to commit to some very sunny weekends being out and about and jousting, but if you really enjoy jousting, you're not giving up anything to do it. I've been very lucky when it comes to tournaments that I've been given the opportunity to joust everywhere and anywhere, but then that is because I've been able to prove myself capable of doing that. So I've not been ostracised because I'm female. And then I suppose ostracised before English Heritage brought out their new ruling that women can joust, because of being historically correct. And I haven't got an issue with a location being historically correct, because that's what they want to bring to the table.
There has been a considerable difference in the participation of women in jousting recently. Last year, English Heritage, for the first time ever, allowed a woman to joust. Her name was Alex from the Netherlands. Nikki Willis is also one of the female jousters out there. There have been jousters out in reenactment circuits for a while, female jousters. 10 years ago, several people were, putting their visors down and not necessarily admitting that they were women until the end of the competition. So there is a rise in women who are wanting to participate in the joust. It then very much depends on the organiser of the tournament as to whether they will allow a woman. I have been ostracised from some groups or some tournaments by virtue of the fact that I'm a woman, but also because I'm me. Some of these tournaments that happen abroad have their own commentators. They've got their own system already, and I understand that. There are tournaments that happen in Poland, which I'm desperate to go to, but I know I only ever go as a spectator. But there are tournaments in English-speaking countries that involve all the same people, and I have been excluded from those because of who I am.
If you said female jouster, would that be normal for me? No, not really. But yes, in the respect that girls are very good at jousting. Now I train both sexes, and the girls pack a punch, sometimes more than the boys.
I have come across gender bias, but that's normally because the woman hasn't actually been capable of doing what she's supposed to be doing. And they have tried to pull the female card, and it's not relevant when it comes to jousting. If you're going to do it, you've got to do it. You can't pull the girl card. You've got to be out there in the right frame of mind and have that get up and go to do it. You cannot pull the girl card.
It can be a very close shop, and although it's a primarily male world, you'd be surprised how catty it can get, and how closed it is. And there are some jousters that don't get on with other jousters. There are some jousters that will only work with other people and they won't include each other. So it can be a very closed group. They also like to form orders like 15th century jousters would have done. So 3 or 4 of them will all get together and they'll have their order of whatever it is. The order of the croissant is one of them, the order of the crescent. I don't know if that one still exists, but it was a very then closed little group. They were very good friends, they'd do anything for each other, but it made it as an outsider quite difficult to penetrate.
I've sometimes felt gender bias, but it's been more of someone, a chap who doesn't feel it's a good thing to hit a woman, and it's that sort of stereotype rather than the physicality of me not being capable of competing in a fair way. So that would be the only bias I've ever found, that they felt awkward about hitting a woman.
There is a certain amount of gender bias on the field of tournament. Primarily, I'm going to put it down to the clothing that we wear. The men, of course, are in their armour, it's heavy and it's hot, but the gowns that a lot of the women wear whilst riding on the field are made of wool. A lot of the time we're competing in July and August, when sometimes we have good weather, but you're not allowed to complain about being hot because you're not in armour. And this does actually roll through the entire tournament. Women, they're there and we are treated as equals, but you'll notice it's the women who still do traditional women's roles. Now, in some respects, we're reenacting, so you wouldn't expect a man in an armour to walk up with the basket of bread for lunch, but you also wouldn't necessarily expect a high-status lady to do it either, and we do find that that happens. I do sometimes feel that it's very much a case of, you haven't done it, so how can you tell us that you know about it? Now, I've been involved with jousting for nearly 20 years, and I know a fair amount about it. I can tell if somebody's not jousting well. I can tell them why they're not jousting well, but they won't necessarily listen to it, A, because I'm a woman, and B, because I'm not actually a jouster myself.
Way back when, Henry VIII did bring out a decree that said that women were not allowed to joust. So that to me would say that at some point in history, women were jousting.
I've definitely been treated differently for being a female jouster, and I am very strongly opinionated about that. I have no problem saying, yes, I do get treated differently. I don't get treated equally to the men. I think, again, it's a problem that is across walks of life still. There are real issues in life with gender bias against women, and we are constantly fighting, and is something that is very prevalent in jousting because it is such a male-dominated sport, and I'm constantly standing up against it. There was a particular joust where I did quite a fun trick in that no one knew I was a woman to begin with. So I stayed hidden behind my helmet, proved what I could do, and then revealed the fact that I was a woman. And it is surprising the amount of shock that was shown from the people watching, the fact that it was a woman behind that helmet and not a man. But after they got over their initial shock, the support from women and men in the audience saying how fantastic it was to see a woman out there jousting was something very positive.
I think women should definitely be allowed to compete. If they're able to do it and they can hold their own, then why not? Who says that only men should do it? Nobody. I mean, yes, that's how it used to be in the old days, but times change.
Jousting's future looks reasonably good to me. I mean, we still need more youngsters coming into the ranks. The trouble with jousting is it's such an expensive sport. You have to be part of a good group where you can sort of beg, borrow and steal things to use, because otherwise you don't know. Until you get into armour, you don't know if you're going to be able to do it or not. It's a lovely idea, I want to joust, but then the reality of getting into that big baked bean tin, shutting a visor down and looking through a 5mm slot, it's not as easy as it looks.
For female jousters going forward, the future is only looking brighter. English heritage, allowing women to compete now in their tournaments, is a great step for women jousters in the country and going forwards.
The thing to remember with either male or female jousters is it's the horsemanship that has to come first. And as long as you're a good enough rider and you're able to maintain that relationship with your horse, it doesn't matter if you're male or female.